Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Fresh Set. I'm Sabrina.
And I'm Kevin, and I have no idea why you're laughing.
I was not paying attention.
Oh,
I didn't at all. I was just like,
I thought you saw the countdown. You're ready to
no,
go.
I mean, I did, but I was also playing on my computer. Anyways,
Okay.
welcome back to Fresh Set. And it is a sad Fresh Set because it's the last race of the
Well,
year.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we got 98.
Yeah.
We have 98 days till.
Yeah.
Is it not? Yeah, till we're back with, I
The
guess,
first race.
testing. I think, isn't it?
No, opening race, 98
Oh,
days.
is it 98 days to opening race? Okay.
March 13th, I think it was, is the weekend.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's 3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the grand finale this weekend in Abu Dhabi, which I have to say, I really love Abu Dhabi in the sense of the day to night track because they
Yeah.
start so late that
They
it's
start at
daytime.
sundown basically,
Yes.
and then the lights come on probably around.
Yeah.
I think it was like lap 40ish. They came on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's like pitch black and then just fun.
Just the lights.
Yeah, so it is the finale. It was basically between McLaren. Yeah, not basically. It was. It was between McLaren and Ferrari for the constructors.
Yeah.
And then Lando and Charles for second in the drivers'
Second place.
championship.
Which also, it's fun, and we'll get into the race portion. But
Yeah.
because of Sergio Perez's result, you had Crofty saying this officially eliminates them, Red Bull, from the Constructors Championship. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Did we really think they were anywhere near
No.
getting this Constructor? Like, there was no way.
Unless there was no way.
There was no way.
Unless
No, there was no
anything, there's no way.
There was no way.
But yeah, it was the last race of the season. Always exciting. We posted it. There was so much to look forward to, or just not so much to look forward to. A lot happening in this last race.
There was, yeah.
Lewis's last race with Mercedes, Carlos's last race with Ferrari.
Zhao's last race with Stake, Valtteri Bottas' possible
Yeah.
last race in F1, Kevin Magnussen's last race in F1, because it was confirmed today that he is going to LMDH. I forget what the acronym
Something,
is.
yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, one of those endurance races or the hypercars.
Yeah.
Who else are we missing here?
There was a bunch of Ocon didn't come.
Ocon, yes, it was Ocon's. It's supposed to be Ocon's last race. He was just asked to not show up, basically. But we'll see him next year.
Yes.
You said Perez, I believe. Did you already? Yes.
Well, so no, I didn't
So
say Perez.
possibly.
Yes. And that
From
was
what
kind of one of the
rumors?
things that I was going to talk about is that the way they were talking about Perez's future,
I
which
mean,
they have been kind of for the last little bit, but it was almost as if like he is not racing.
We have said this all year round that these
Yeah.
commentators they have a pipeline, and there are rumors flying around of who I guess they believe are very credible people where they're getting this information from.
Yeah.
And more often than not, they're right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of knew there was a big announcement. I mean, just going back to the beginning of the year, before Lewis was announced to go to Ferrari, we knew there was this big announcement coming. Rumor that it was going to be a Lewis or what have you. And then it happened. And like all these little things, the Daniel replacement, it happened. So there was the way they were talking about Perez this weekend, and it was like, it's his 90th and possible last start for Red Bull, and like they just kept pulling out all the stats of him, and I was like, the writing's on the wall here.
Yeah. They're not gonna make themselves look like fools.
No,
they're not almost all but sure.
Right.
Like 99%.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So going into the weekend, we obviously have free practice. No, I'm going to back up a little bit. Last weekend, we had George and Max going at it, which continued.
It continued. It was all the talk. It continued after the race last weekend, and it continued through media day this week.
All week.
It continued on other news outlets all week, them being interviewed or whatever.
Yeah. The drivers are in on it now because they had a driver dinner. Yeah. I mean, I think Lando was pretty much the only driver that was directly asked about it, that we saw.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want them to smooth it over. I think it's hilarious.
He did.
Yeah. He's like,
I'm sure other people were asked. They just weren't giving those fun answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just said it's good entertainment just to watch them fight. I hope they never make up, he said.
Yeah. He's also friends with both of them. So it's probably hilarious to him.
Of course.
And then at the driver dinner, apparently there was a seat, which they have every year at the end, right before the last race. Which, timeout, I'm like digressing all over the place. Did you know that Charles got food poisoning?
That's what he said, yes. But it had to be, it's obviously a one-off because every other driver didn't seem to get it. And it's the rest, I believe it's the same restaurant they went to last year. So I think it was just a bad
Lando
or something. Yeah.
It was Lando putting something in his food.
100%. Yes.
So they can't compete. But yeah, so they had this driver dinner and there was a seat saved beside Max for George.
Yeah.
George shows up and is like, absolutely not, and goes and sits beside.
It may have something to do with the comments he made shortly before that, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which were very defamatory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, which Max didn't seem too bothered by it. He'd be fine to just make somebody uncomfortable. But George was something else. George was Karen.
Yeah, the tears, or like the almost tears in his eyes.
I noticed that too. Like, he looked like he was like really hurt.
Yeah.
And apparently not all, I don't want to say not all true, but most likely overemphasize on what actually happened.
Yes.
A little dramatic.
Yeah.
Where he was so overdramatic that the British media, who is apparently never on Max's side, was on Max's side.
Yeah.
And they were saying that, because George came out saying the British media, not the British media, excuse me, that Max was, when he walked in, Max was going off. He went off for 5 whole minutes, swearing at the stewards. And everybody was really quick to say, listen, if you're in that steward's room and you're swearing at the stewards and you're doing that, you're going to get a fine for being disrespectful and all that.
Yeah.
And that never happened. And there were other sources that came out and said that never happened.
Right. And the punishment for the crime, I'll say quote unquote crime, didn't match. It almost looked like it was okay, we're just going to shut you up so you're happy. You're not going back that far on the grid. We're just going to switch you guys. So it doesn't support the dramatics that George is saying.
Of course not. No.
So,
I know a lot of the talk has been about, like, this year has been about swearing. George came out in an interview several times and said the F word, whether he was repeating what Max said or not, said the F word. He could have just said F. And Toto even came out and said, that kind of swearing and stuff is not. He came out in an interview not today, sorry. I believe it was Thursday or Friday. Saying it's ridiculous and that he has young kids that have been on karting tracks and now they're saying it, they hear it from the drivers. And it was directed at Max swearing instead, saying things like that. But I mean, George said the same things in an interview, and I haven't heard anything about a penalty, a fine. It came out today that Max is serving his community service this week, I believe it is, before we get to the awards dinner or next week, something like that, and in the next week or two. But nothing's been said afterwards, and for all drivers.
Yeah.
But
like,
George has been everywhere this weekend. That clip of him saying that Max was going to put him on his fucking head. And he said the whole word. It's not like he glazed over it. And there was nothing.
No. And I mean, good on Max for continuing to do the charity work. Great. He's going to be working with kids in karting. I believe something to do with racing.
In
Rwanda.
Rwanda, yes, where the next race is rumored to be. Or possibly be in there. Rwanda, or was it South Africa?
I think it's Rwanda.
Was it Rwanda?
Oh no, South Africa is where they want the next race.
Yes.
No, I'm confused.
Anyways, it's somewhere.
Anyways, whatever.
It's in there. It's
Yeah. It's in the continent somewhere. Yeah, we didn't see Charles get his extra 5,000 pound fine. We didn't see George get any fines for the last 3 weekends because he has been cussing up a storm the last 3 weekends. But yeah, I mean, hey, Max is gonna take it on the chin and just do what he's got to do, and
that's fine.
I'm just here so I don't get fired. Marshawn Lynch. Like, that's what we're gonna do. But yeah, so jumping into race weekend, during FP1, we learned that both Williams cars have to get a new gearbox, which is a 5 grid place penalty for both of them, wherever they're going to qualify 5 grid places back. We also learned that Charles Leclerc is taking a penalty. I can't remember why. He had some sort of change that was coming to his car, too. I believe it was a
new internal combustion, a new ICE.
Something.
I think
Yeah. And so he was a 10 grid place penalty for that, which going into the weekend, he's wanting to win for Ferrari, and win second in the drivers. That makes it very difficult, or what we thought would make it very difficult.
Well, you think about it, and I mean, if he had qualified on pole, that puts him in 11th, right? So I mean, he needs to. That's already way far down. So he needs to get that pole, second, whatever. He needs to finish really high up there in qualifying.
Yeah, and we'll talk about where he finishes. But in FP1, the only really notable thing in the all three practice sessions is that we had a lot of reserve drivers, F2 drivers. Seven in total.
Junior drivers, apparently.
Yeah. On the track doing some testing or doing FP1 for the teams. And then the most notable of those.
Which got all the press. Everybody else just kind of
didn't matter.
Then you knew. But
was Charles' brother, Arthur Leclerc. He drove for Ferrari. So it was the first time we had brothers on track at the same time.
For the same team.
So. Which kind of cool. For them.
Madame, or whoever you want to call it, Leclerc was there. Kind of a tear-jerking moment. Charles had to close his visor pretty quick.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was pretty cool. They're trying to push each other a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think at one point they said, you have Charles who was finishing first in FP1 and Arthur was in 18th, I think. But they ended up going back to the pits together and they waved at each other and it was cute.
Yeah.
It was cute. Whatever.
Not here for those storylines.
All right, moving on to quali.
I want blood.
Honestly. But actually, moving on to quali, which was Saturday.
Yes. Yeah. We're back in regular times.
Yeah, I was like, what? Well, other than FP1, which was at 4:30 a.m. our time. And I did wake up for it, and I turned it on. I turned it on, and then I didn't see any of it. But so quali, we start. Perez lap time deleted and then reinstated.
Yeah,
which
it
we
was
saw
really
a few
close.
of those.
Yeah, we saw a few of those. He had one. I believe Piastri had one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was millimeters. You could have probably argued that like actual grip to the track was not on the white, was off the white line, but the actual just like the, I guess, bulbousness of the tire was
hanging
not
over.
Yeah, just barely, just barely.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like you said, when you looked at it in real time, he's off. And then when they slowed it down, you're like, okay, I guess the tire is kind of hanging over, which is good news for Perez because he cannot be out in Q1 again. And then at one point we had Bottas having fastest overall when the time actually hit 0.
He was flying this weekend.
Yeah. And it was nice to see that the car we said it last weekend, but they finally figured out the car.
Which is such a shame because you're blaming your drivers basically this year. You're not bringing either of them back, which means you don't think they did a good enough job. Where if you give them a car that can race, they can at least sniff the points.
Yeah. Yeah. Bottas especially.
Well, Zhao got points last weekend.
Yeah. So, so Q1 ended, and we had, starting from 16th, we had Albon, Zhao, Hamilton, who had a lap time deleted, which is why he ended up in 18th, Colapinto, and Jack Doohan, who was replacing Ocon. The Hamilton one, tough one to take because it is his last race for Mercedes, and that's the last thing he needed, but it wasn't his fault. Actually, he didn't have lap time deleted. He had...
No, he didn't. No, he was on a hot lap.
Yes,
they sent him out too late, and so Toto was quickly out there in the media apologizing to Lewis up and down, saying they left him too late. They sent him out too late, which means he had that one lap to do. Yeah. And somehow I watched that replay back over and over again, and it was Hülkenberg who comes across a corner, but he cuts into that corner. I don't know why. I don't know why. I guess he's trying to get out of the way, but I don't understand why he took such an aggressive cut into that corner, and he knocks a Bullard into Lewis's path. Yeah. Which gets Lewis stuck under his...
there's no way he can avoid it at that point. He's on a hot lap, and Hülkenberg is trying to do the right thing and get out of the way.
And he's got nowhere to go at that point. He got really he kind of got stuck because he's on the apex of that turn, and there's a concrete wall beside him. So I get why he makes, but it's just like, I don't know.
How did you end up there?
It's obviously now in hindsight, it's worse what he did instead of just letting Lewis go around him, and he loses
maybe get a penalty.
Second. Yeah, over being out completely.
Yeah, he should have just impeded him. And just taking it and go talk to the stewards. Bring George with you. It's fine.
You'll get out of it. It's fine.
Yeah, don't worry. So that was Q1. Q2, Max does a bit of an earlier. He does a couple laps early on. Puts up a 1:22.998. I wrote this down. Goes back to his garage. Gets out of the car. Says, I'm done. I think that was good enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's got the lap record. He knows what's gonna be fast enough. Yeah. Was it Q2 where he almost lost it, or was it Q3?
Q3, I think Q3. It was where he almost lost it.
I'll wait on that one.
Yeah. But yeah, he didn't continue, and I was like, oh, okay, that is very confident. But I mean, nobody was catching him in Q2. They kept going right below. Yeah. And so, like you said, he knows the lap time. So Q2, actually, Charles did go fastest overall. Lap time got deleted because of track limits. Same corner as Perez, but he was actually out this time, and not his tire wasn't hanging over.
And it wasn't much. It was it was by an inch, and he was out.
Yeah.
Which on the weekend when you have a 10-place grid penalty, you don't want that, obviously.
No. And so where we have 11 to 15 was Tsunoda, Lawson, Stroll, Leclerc in 14th, Magnussen in 15th. So 10 grid places would be 20th. Or 24th, actually. But
he's starting behind the safety car.
Yeah. So starting off as a bad weekend for Leclerc and Ferrari, again is wanting to win constructors and second place in the drivers.
Well, especially when we have both McLarens making it into Q3, excuse me.
Q3.
Where Piastri, I don't remember I believe it was Q2, where he had a lap time deleted as well, and then reinstated.
Yeah. So, I mean, it happens, but just overall, just not a good weekend for the two future Ferrari teammates, Charles and Hamilton, starting getting kicked out.
Good outlook, yeah.
Yeah. And then we go into Q3, where
which,
this is where
which
Max,
Perez made it into.
He made it in because
it's his first Q3 in a while.
Yeah,
A while.
Good for him. I mean,
Well,
I'll jump ahead, and
really.
I'll jump ahead. He qualified in 10th. So
yeah, he qualified in 10th. Yeah.
But by default, like that's the last spot.
Behind a Sauber,
and an Alpine and a Haas.
Would you? Yeah, I know. Would you rather be out in Q2 because you had an issue or a track limit deleted, or would you like to get into Q3 and then be the slowest? I mean, not that Max did much better. He didn't in Q3.
No, he did not.
He did not.
He did not do so well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Max went out, and his first hot lap was running purple sectors all around. On the last corner, absolutely loses the back end.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's about to crash.
Keeps one tire on track somehow.
Yeah. No time deleted.
No. And puts up the fastest lap in that section.
Yeah.
Losing about 1/10 of a second.
Yeah. Still the fastest, but I mean, he even said, he was like, I just tried. He said, all of a sudden I was just facing the other other wall, and he kept it on track, but it looked a little hairy there for a second. And then we kind of run, and we get to no time, and it's just switching. Who's at the top? It's Max. It's Hulk. It's
Hulk.
In a Haas. Yeah, it signs. Norris then goes up, and then Piastri goes up. Piastri, I don't think actually gets P1 at any point, but
no, he puts himself into P2.
Yeah,
Sainz gets into P2, and then Piastri puts himself just above Sainz.
Yeah, and so then we have Max in 5th, Gasly, Russell, Alonso, Bottas, and Perez. Bottas, this is his first time into Q3 for the year, and ahead of the Red Bull. Just saying, just reminding. It's just reminding of that fact.
I mean, and that's why I go back to it. Like, Bottas has got to go back to the garage and look at his team and and Mattia, who's going to be there, and look at me like, see, you see what I can do? Like, what? Why are you getting rid of me? What the fuck?
I told you.
Yeah.
And they made the decision. They made the decision for their second driver later on, but I mean, they made the decision to bring Hülkenberg over pretty early in the season. Yeah. I want to say it was shortly before the summer break, I should say.
I feel like that is an Audi decision. Audi wanting a German driver. To me, that just makes the most sense of why they picked Hulk that early on.
Yeah. It was probably like make the deal.
Yeah, but to make a decision on your second driver as early as it is, before you're done, I mean, that could have waited till Monday next week, whatever.
Yeah, for sure. It happened anyway. So Bottas does great. I mean, everybody's happy for him, hoping he's going to get some points at this point. So with all the penalties and what have you, Hamilton, although he qualified in 16th, he qualified in 18th. He started in 16th, and Charles qualified in 14th because of penalties. And then the Colapinto penalty, Charles started in 19th. And those numbers are important for the actual race when we get to it, which is a 58 lap race. 1 stop, 2 stop, depending.
They figured it would have been a 1-stopper because degradation's pretty low here.
Yeah.
But depending on what you would get with safety cars, accidents, whatever, that could really change things. And it did, actually. The pit stops were all over the place. Some were ones, some were twos, a couple of threes.
Yeah. Yeah. No fun for a lot of these. I don't think anybody really had fun today except for Lando Norris. But so we have Lando in P1, Piastri in P2, and Sainz. Hulk actually ends up getting a penalty late that we think we found out this morning. No, I said it to you. I'm like, he's pissed about something, and I couldn't figure out what he was pissed about. He got a penalty for, what was it for?
Impeding in the pit exit.
Oh.
Or no, passing in the pit exit. Sorry, passing in the pit exit.
Passing, but someone was probably holding him up.
Which is a Max Verstappen rule, because I believe Max did it in this race last year, where he was just pissed off about the traffic in the pit exit, because the pit exit's very long, it goes under the bridge, and Max just went around everybody last year, which wasn't necessarily a penalty, but then they changed it for safety reasons, whatever. And so Hulk passes somebody this year in the pit exit.
Like, screw it.
Yeah. And takes a 3-place grid penalty for it.
Yeah, so that moved Max up to the second row. He was now 4th, and Hulk went down to 7th, 6th.
Yep, 7th.
Behind. Still a good spot for a Haas to be finishing or starting the race.
Well, especially because they're in. Well, it is and it isn't, because they're starting. He would have been ahead of Gasly. Those points are crucial for that standing there between Haas and Alpine. Yeah. I mean, that's like $15 million difference.
Just
a cool 15. Yeah,
just a cool 15 million. But yeah, it was a good start for lights on, lights off. Good start for mostly Lando, and actually Lando, Max, Piastri all kind of have a good start.
Yeah.
And then Max, when they get to turn 1, they're both going into the corner. Piastri definitely has the apex.
Absolutely. And you can I mean, it's very obvious when we were watching the replay, and Max dive bombs into the inside, and he comes out. There's at no point are they wheel to wheel in the front wheels.
No.
Max is always just a little bit behind. And especially as they come out of that corner, and you can hear it in that radio from Max. We hear it after probably about the second lap, the replay of that radio, and he says, "Oh, very unlucky there. You know, I think I had the apex, or I'm pretty sure I had the apex at that point."
It was right alongside.
If Max is kind of off being kind of unlucky, if he felt he really had the apex, he would be like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
He's such an idiot." He's very confident in that answer. He was not. He knew he was wrong. Yeah.
And which was interesting, because Crofty actually did say, yes, he dive bombed, 100% blame on Max, but Crofty did say it, Piastri could have given him a little bit more space on the inside. Does he have to? Not really.
No, he doesn't. That's his spot.
Doesn't have to. That's his. He's
ahead.
It's
the responsibility of Max to back out.
He's ahead.
And that's just the way it is. Yeah.
He clips him. Piastri, they both actually do a bit of a 360, and Max keeps going.
Right through them.
Yeah. It just opens it right up, and Carlos goes right through. Max stays on track with his spin, continues going. Piastri spins off track and then drops to dead last.
19th, they took. Yeah. Actually, yes, it was dead last, because Yuki, who had a clutch issue and ended up in last, still passes Piastri. You see him in the corner. Yeah.
In the first 2 laps, Charles, who started in 19th, is up 11 places and is in P8.
He's definitely the benefactor of the disaster.
Yeah. And there was actually 2 spins, because Perez also did a spin at some point with, I can't remember who he hit.
Tapped by Colpin. No, it wasn't Colpin. No, it was Bottas.
Was that the one?
Or was it Bottas?
Or did he just...
No,
spin by himself.
Somebody tapped.
Somebody says, yeah.
Him, and somebody did.
And but I mean, when you watch Charles on board, it is just insane. Like, he just was able to see every accident, every person. That's like kind of the benefit of starting at the back.
When you're starting at the back, yeah.
Everything happening. And it was almost as if like a path just opened up for him. And he
like
just
Moses
went
in the Red Sea.
Yeah, like he just went right through. Like it was crazy. And he just went right up to P8. And I mean, when you see someone move in 2 laps that far up, you're like, okay, we this may not be lost we thought.
And one of the ones that's out is your competitor. So we knew that Piastri was likely not going to be able to make up places. He might have gotten into, I figured he might have gotten into 10th or 9th, salvage 1 or 2 points.
Yeah.
But there was no way he was getting back in that lead.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess something we should also say is how this race would work out for McLaren. One of the McLaren drivers just had to win. Doesn't matter. They just had to win.
That was enough.
And for Ferrari, they needed a 1-2. They needed a 1-2 or a 1-3.
Or both had to be out. Like they had to,
Or a McLaren couldn't be on the podium. So, which is hard when you have them being P1 and P2.
Yeah, exactly.
Starting that way. But like you said, when you see Piastri's out, you're like, okay, I just got to get to Carlos, and we got to get past Norris up front. George, who is behind Gasly, was driving like a madman. Like, he was so close on Gasly's gearbox, but couldn't pass him.
No. Good defending by Gasly.
Could not pass him.
He put his car in the best position, and you just couldn't, like, anytime he had any chance he couldn't get him on the straights, which was baffling to me.
Yeah.
But as soon as he got to a corner, Gasly was just positioning himself so perfectly that George had nothing. He couldn't go on the inside. There was no point in going on the outside. And it just stayed like that for a long time.
A long time. I thought I'd written it down, but I don't know if I did.
It was at least 15 laps.
Actually, it was, good for you. Lap 15, Gasly goes into... You just pulled that.
Yes, because he went to pit stop.
Yeah, so he didn't actually pass him. Gasly went into the pit.
That's right.
And
I know my shit.
Yeah, just going to Gasly's driving. The last couple years with Alpine haven't been the greatest for him. He didn't have the greatest of showings when he was at Red Bull for a handful of races.
Well, when you're comparative to Max. I mean,
but I mean, the last, 6 races, especially, Gasly has been driving a car that isn't always the fastest, but he's doing what he's got to do with that car and making the car wide and defending.
There's one thing that I follow or whatever, and Pierre Gasly in 2024, 10th in the driver's standings, 1 podium, highest qualifying is 3rd in an Alpine, 9 points finishes, and no car damage at all.
$0.
I mean, when you are in a ship box, that's a win.
That's a win. You are the driver's champion of the year.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, you can't, like, his driving has just been phenomenal. And in that Alpine.
Yeah.
Good for him. Perez out. I forgot to mention. Perez spins and is then out. He is the first driver out of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which really puts the nail in the coffin.
Which is why they said as soon as he was out, they said, well, now they can't win the Constructors Championship, which we knew already.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I love you, Crofty, but it wasn't. It was not anything that anybody was even thinking about at that point.
No, not at all. Not at all. Max received a 10-second penalty for that hit on Piastri. It's hilarious though when Piastri makes, or when they show us the radio comments from Piastri, because at this point it's a few laps in. Piastri has now hit somebody else. I think he hit Bottas
or Colapinto. No, he hit Colapinto.
One of
he went into the back of Colapinto. That's right, because they were worried that they were thinking that he was going to have to change his front wing.
Yeah,
which he did not. Yeah.
No. So they he at this point, like, they don't have Max's penalty yet, but the radio we hear is good driving from a world champion. Shady comments. Yeah, I mean, he's being a smartass.
That's world champion driving.
Yeah. Then they tell him very quickly Max has received the penalty, the 10-second penalty, and he responds, "Good."
Good.
And then the next thing that pops up on the screen is Piastri 10-second
proceeds penalty. To get his own 10-second penalty.
And I'm like, well, you ate your words real quickly there.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of funny. But I mean, his comments about Max, like, you just got knocked to last. Like, it makes sense. Like, he's being shady, but I mean, I'd be pissed too. So
sure. Yeah, because you know that you have no chance in helping in this fight that you're supposed to be working toward.
Yeah, but
it should be an easy points finish, and
it should have. Yeah, and it was just funny how it happened that he so quickly got his penalty as well. And then lap 8, Lando's ahead by 3 seconds from Carlos, I guess, at that point. Yeah. Then we have Gasly into the pits, like we said, George couldn't pass him. He, for whatever reason,
and
that Mercedes was struggling, especially on the straights. Like, didn't make sense
for a lot of this race. And as much as there was that we were wondering, you know, who's going to win this Constructors Championship, what's going to happen, and even the commentary was, you know, what can Ferrari do to kind of just trick McLaren or try and get them closer or whatever it was. There wasn't a lot going on. Other than the real stories, unless you're passing because you pit stop or you had a pit stop, or you're one of the 4 fastest cars that got sent to the back for whatever reason, and you can make your way through the back, which the story was, how far up can Lewis get? Can Leclerc fight back?
Yeah.
Other than that, nobody really did anything. There was really not a lot going on.
No, a lot of the stuff that was happening, like you said, was the driving up, the Lewises and the Charles driving up from the back. There was the Russell not being able to get Gasly. And then everything else kind of came down to what was happening in the pit lanes. Like how fast these pit stops were. And it was vital for everybody, not just Lando and whatever. It was everybody's pit stops mattered. And
it soon became apparent that, like, if for whatever reason Lando doesn't screw up, we've got to, like, it's done. Like,
it's done.
And it didn't look like he was, because they made no mention other than telling everybody Lando's ahead by 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. They didn't mention Lando at all. They didn't even show him on screen.
No,
he was driving perfect, calm, as Brundle put it, metronomically, where it was just kind of just going at the same pace, same time, keeping that pace up, kind of just getting in his zone and just going. Yeah, there was nothing.
No, at one point they did talk to him on the radio and said something. I can't remember exactly what was said, and his response
about his tires and his tire degradation.
Yeah, and his response was so like, calm. You know, just hanging out. And then you go to like Leclerc's and he's like, "Where's Lando?" Like, just freaking out.
What's
like,
Carlos's gap to Lando? 7.2. Fuck.
How far am I? Like, what do I gotta do? Like, just
Lando was just saying, they're not bad, but I think we're all right.
I think we'll be fine. Let's just like see how we can do.
Go for a walk in the park,
and it's not like he's ahead by 12 seconds. So he still has
5.
Yeah, he's got 5, 4, 3, like depending on charging, but
enough that an undercut wouldn't work. And so even when we had the Ferrari pit crew, as they usually do, kind of come out with soft tires or whatever, kind of make it look like they're going to undercut somebody. They was far enough ahead that an undercut wouldn't even work. There's no way that Sainz is making up those 5 seconds over 2 laps or whatever.
Well, and so they did try the undercut, and Sainz did pit for it, but
on their one,
Norris came in. He came in right away, and that's not going to help you at that point. You need him to. You need to catch him off guard, force him to go around a couple more times for it to work, and force a bad pit stop for him.
Plus, Sainz was on a 2.7 pit stop, where to Norris's 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, McLaren just got 4 wins, and we've harped on McLaren all year. Today, McLaren got everything right. Except for Piastri. Which wasn't his fault.
Which is not their fault. Or not his fault.
Other than rear-ending Colapinto. But not his fault.
Well, yeah, that one was. Yeah. But he was already effectively out of the race.
Yeah. Yeah. Liam Lawson goes for a pit stop. And he does like a start-stop when he goes to leave the pit stop.
Yep.
And then still leaves and then gets on track and says, guys, my tire is not on properly.
Yeah, just like a whole half a lap, and then he says it, and it's because it didn't look like any of the other pit crew was waving him down to stop. Mm-hmm. I guess they believed that he was fine. There was a wobble in one of his wheels. I don't know if it's all of his. I was tying up skates at that point. No. So all I heard was, and I was dying to pull my phone out of my pocket. Yeah, I was just listening to it. But yeah, it was just
so you could see you couldn't see it just face on, it looked like the tire was fine when they did the onboard from his view. In a slow-mo, you could see the wobbling of the tire, but I mean it was on enough, I guess, that it didn't fall off on track. He was able to go back around, get it tightened, but that's a penalty. It's unsafe release. That could be dangerous. It's a safety issue. So not only did he have to go in for the regular pit stop, he had to go back in to get it fixed. And then he got a 10-second penalty for, the unsafe release, which is, again, not his fault, but so happens. Colapinto retires, which kind of sad for him because this was his last race. Potentially, we think.
For now,
I'm sure
he'll
be back.
He'll likely be back in F1. I think he's had a good enough showing that he will. Yeah. As long as and we've got an 11th team coming in. Who knows what's going to happen in a couple of years? Yeah,
I think even if anybody is sick next year, Colapinto's getting that call. It doesn't matter the team. They're going to be like
the odd appendix comes out again next year.
Yeah. They're going to be bringing him in. He'll be around. He'll be doing free practice 1. But this was his last race, and kind of the way he started was so good. Those first few races after taking over, he hasn't had the greatest of last couple of races, but
6 crashes, probably not the best.
Yeah.
6, 5. Even anything above 1 is really different, but.
Yeah, it's not good. And so then Max comes in to do his penalty, which is the 10-second penalty from lap 1. Yeah. And decides to come out. He's got to be stationary for 10 seconds. Team does his pit stop. He comes out and he makes some shady comments of, they couldn't have given us a 20-second penalty. Stupid idiots. Speaking of the stewards. Yeah. And very quickly, Crofty and Brundle are pissed. They do not like those comments. They're like, well, buddy, you hit the man. What do you expect? That's just textbook at this point.
And he knows he was at fault.
He knows he was at fault. And just to say stupid idiots, you could have left it as they couldn't have given us 20 seconds. That's funny. Have to say anything at all. That's funny. When you add the stupid idiots, not so funny anymore. Yeah. So yeah, they were pretty pissed off about it.
Well, especially because they came to his defense.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would be kind of be pissed too, but Bottas collides with Kevin Magnussen. He gets a puncture and has to retire.
Yep.
Which was shitty for him. And then Hamilton gets relatively close to George. So at this point, we have Charles, who started in 19th, is now in 3rd. We have Hamilton, who started in 16th, is now in 5th, I guess.
5th, yeah.
Yeah, he's in 5th. And he's catching George. Don't know where George's speed was.
Because Hamilton at the beginning of this race is the only one that starts on hards. Everybody else on the grid is starting on mediums, which is the faster tire.
Yeah.
And they're all noticing that the hards aren't really working. It's about a one-stop race. Some people went in for 2, whatever.
Yeah.
The hards aren't really that great. They're that fast. But they have to use 2 different tire compounds. Yeah. So George, only option for him, because he's going to pit, and I don't remember exactly where it was, somewhere in the 20s, I believe. He is, or close to 20. He has to go on hard, and he's got to go the rest of the way. Hamilton gets the advantage that he's now going to go on lap 30 or whatever it might be, and he's going to go onto the faster tire. So he puts on these 30s, and he comes out in, and I believe it's somewhere between 14 and 16. And I can't remember exactly where it is. And he is cutting through everybody. Yeah. Like he is
driver of his life.
Yeah. Not even a man on a mission. Like he is just destroying everything. Yeah. He catches Russell very quickly. Yeah. And by the time he gets past Verstappen, who is the one behind George, he's got 8 seconds at that point, 7 seconds to George. Yeah. And it's just taking out like 0.3 of a second every lap.
Yeah. And they're not even super, super close yet. And Toto is on that radio, which
at that
the
point,
principles
they're 1.1 seconds away. I remember that
when Toto comes.
Zones. Yeah.
Well, and you don't usually hear the team principal come in to make any comments. It's usually the race engineer, your buddy on the wall there. It's not the team principal. We've seen Toto get involved in. Well, we understand Lewis just drive. Yeah. We've seen Ron Dennis do it. We've seen people get involved. But Toto gets on the radio and says to George, Hamilton's catching, just stating the obvious, keep it clean.
Keep it clean.
Yes, keep it super clean. Which to me, my translation is let Hamilton by. Is my translation of it.
I don't necessarily think it was let him by. I think it was do the right thing. Just don't fight him. If you're faster, you're faster. But Hamilton was just faster.
Yeah, he was faster.
There was no way. I mean, even at that point, I remember because once Hamilton gets in DRS range, before they get to DRS zone, we get a yellow flag out of nowhere.
And final lap.
That was Lawson.
Yeah.
That was Lawson, his engine or gearbox, whatever, something smoking. So I
just saw Lawson. I was like, oh, okay.
And that's as soon as that's in one of the detection zones.
Yeah.
And so Hamilton can't use his DRS and still has enough speed to pass George.
Yeah. Well, and so I don't know if you could see it, but my feed that I was watching, we don't actually see the overtake. We see Hamilton catching. Yeah, they go to look at Lawson's stopped car.
They go, and then you just see that little box show up on the order, like, and you see him passing, and then Crofty doesn't even see it until it's already gone through. I'm like, what do you like? This you've been talking about this for 3 laps, and you want to watch some guy who have no consequence get out of his car that's not even in park, it's still rolling down the hill. Like, who cares?
Yeah, as long as it's not rolling onto the track, who cares?
Yeah, gives a shit.
So we didn't actually see the overtake, and so one thing that I feel robbed of is we don't know.
How easily did he get out of the way?
Yeah, Lewis was catching.
Did he make a pass?
Did he fight him a little bit? Did he just move over, let him by, how Lando did last weekend? Like,
I'm gonna guess that it was so quick that he probably just didn't fight him. Like, if he's gonna try and take it.
Yeah.
I don't think he slowed down at all to do it.
He
but
just moved.
or to allow him.
He
He just didn't move, didn't try to really defend. Just let him go.
Just went for it. And again, this is on the last lap at this point. So we are hearing that Hamilton is passed, but we're also seeing now Lando's McLaren come around the corner. He takes the win. Congratulations, Lando. Ferrari get the 1-2 or the 2-3, sorry, of Carlos in second, Charles in third, and then you see Lewis's car come around the corner, and he's in fourth, and so he gets fourth place. Which he wanted a podium, but it's good.
Interestingly enough, as teammates, Lewis has only gotten 2 more points on Russell. I think it was 657 points to 655. They were level on points going into this one.
Yeah. Since 2022.
Since they've been teammates. So I had no idea they were actually this close in the points.
Yeah. I didn't either. But I mean, it's like last year when Lewis came third in the driver, was it third or second in the drivers championship? And we're like,
third.
When were you like this close?
Just slowly, consistently getting points.
Yeah. And like, he wasn't always on a podium. So it was just like, how did you get third? But yeah, I mean, it was a nice finish for everybody, really. I mean, McLaren got the Constructors Championship with Lando winning.
Back in a 10th. Still gets that 1 point.
Yeah. Piastri cements the extra point for them, which funny enough, makes them finish the season with 666 points, which is, on brand for Oscar to be the one to bring the extra, the devil point, like with it.
Yeah.
But
Kevin Magnussen gets even though it's worth nothing, he gets the fastest lap in his last race in F1.
Yeah. I mean, in the Haas again, in the Haas. Like, what else do we have? Oscar is the 4th driver in history to complete every lap in a season.
And the only non-champion of the year to complete every. So we've had Schumacher, I forget what year
Lewis.
it was. Lewis in 2017 or 2019. Max last year. And then now Oscar this year. But the only difference was those 3 have won the championship that year.
Yeah. And he did not. He won a couple of races, but
he did not. And I mean, he was, I guess, close-ish enough for McLaren to screw up everybody.
Yeah.
But
yeah. What else happened?
We have Alpine cements 6th place.
Yes.
By 3. Nope, sorry, my mistake. By 7 points.
7 points.
So they're 65 to Haas's 58. So Haas needed a much better showing, but I mean, with Gasly finishing 6th, I believe. And
must have been 6th, yeah.
Hulk just below that, I believe, in 8th.
Yeah. And I mean, that is all thanks to that Brazil 2-3 of
that 2-3
of the Alpines. I mean, I think without that,
thanks for your contribution, Ocon.
Yeah.
See you later.
We won't have you drive in the last race, but thanks for that. But yeah, I mean, it was overall, like you said, it wasn't a lot happening in terms of driving and on track stuff, but there was a lot happening at the same time.
The biggest thing we were watching was Leclerc and Hamilton making their way through the pack.
Yeah.
Could they do it? And they did. And was Lando going to make a mistake, which he didn't put a foot wrong all day.
No, this was, I think, and I said this to you, is like, this was the race that Lando, this is the type of race that you want to win properly on. And he did. It kind of gets buried a little bit because it goes towards the McLaren.
We have so many other storylines.
Yeah. The McLaren, they haven't won a constructor since 1998, which the last time they won this championship, Oscar wasn't born and Lando was 13 days old.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
throwing that out there. So, like, it's been a very long time for them. Good for them. But I feel like even some of the posts that you see so far on social media is a lot about McLaren and not like Lando winning, which fine, it is a team sport. At this point, it was the team win.
Yeah, it was.
But he had a perfect race. The races that he's won this season, although this was his first season winning these races, haven't been the races you kind of want to win. They've been handed to him. He's had to, let someone by or, but this was the perfect race.
He needed to get those points for that team, and he did it. He from lights out, he was perfect.
Yeah, this was a mature driving of a mature showing of Lando. Yeah. And I think and he had a really good interview after, and he kind of thanked, there was all the drama between him and Max all season. And he said, this was a great race and it was a great season. And I'm thankful for Max because I've learned a lot from his on-track battles. And that's that's kind of what Max was saying to him too, is like, you're going to learn from this. This is not, I'm not being a dick. I'm just, it is what it is.
It's not even just, it's like those 2-3 weeks before we get to the break where we're starting to realize he's in contention for a title. But even before that, just the 1-2 controversy between him and Piastri. I mean, he's had a rival all season.
Yeah. With his teammate, with his team, with his friend. With Max. He's just, and I think today was a day that it's like, if you just focus, forget everything else, which is kind of what we've seen Lewis do in the past. We've seen Max do last year. Just drive, focus on what's happening, and it'll come to you. So one thing that I did see prior to when they were kind of walking in this morning, the drivers showing up to the race, is Lewis showing up in an all red Ferrari red suit.
Is that why you sent me that message? Because I didn't see it, and I'm like, kind of a statement piece. I'm like, it's Lewis's clothes. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised, but I didn't see that it was all red.
It was all red. It was head to toe Ferrari red outfit in a Lewis style outfit.
Is it Ferrari red, or because on his helmet he did have the silver arrow in the red for Niki Lauda? It could be said that he's doing it for Niki, who was also a Ferrari driver. He was a McLaren driver at one point. No, Ferrari driver.
I like my theory better.
I know you do. And it does feed the drama.
Yeah.
It's just I would think it was more a Niki Lauda.
It probably is.
Tribute. Not a good look though. When you have commentators such as yourself.
Yeah.
Who just like to stir shit up.
Professional commentators like me. Out here. But I just thought that was kind of funny. And I mean, sad day. Lewis crying, whether he's going to admit it or not. He was definitely crying after he got out of his car.
He even after in the interview, and we heard it. Once he gets his tires changed, it's okay, Lewis. Whatever gap, here it is. It's hammer time, which is the last time he's going to hear it because he's not going to have his engineer next. And he was tearing up in the interview. Yeah. He was probably tearing up there because he realized it's the last time he's going to hear that.
Yeah.
From Bono.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I mean, there was supposed to be an interview with Lewis at the end, which he ended up just going into the garage, which is kind of nice. Like, just let him forget this stuff. Let him go and talk to his team.
He doesn't know anybody anything anymore.
No. And so he went to go talk to the team, and he's talking to Bono, and Bono's wife comes up. And so then they're all crying, and I'm like, oh my God. Carlos is crying. Charles radio tribute to him. Charles was crying. Like, it was just...
It's a little more. I mean, you're going to see him next year. I mean, come on. He's just not your teammate anymore. Give me a break. Give me a break.
He's just going to be at the back. He's not really going to see him anymore.
Yeah. Charles, how many tears do you have? I mean, you cry with your brother. You cry with Carlos. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Man
It's sensitive. It's cute.
Okay. You were teammates for like 2 years. It's fine. It's not that bad.
4. But...
Has it been 4?
Yeah.
Has it been 4?
Yeah. 22? 21. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, that is sad.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Still
now we can shed a tear. But yeah, it was just really sad. I personally feel like a child of divorce with Carlos and Charles splitting up. I mean, I am a child of divorce. Well, but I feel like even more so a child of divorce. But
your real family doesn't affect you, but this one does. Yeah.
This is really...
This one hurts.
This one hurts a lot. But
wow,
hey.
What a black heart you must have.
Ask Bianca, she'll tell you.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, any news? Do we have any news?
Yeah, not much. There's a couple. I don't even want to follow that. I just want to do here.
Sorry.
I did find it interesting, like, because I did see at the beginning of the season they do a grid picture. Everybody at the first race of the season, you know, they do the how it started, how it ended, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're missing 4 drivers. Like, when you think about it over the course of the seaon, I mean, at the beginning we had Ricardo, now we have Lawson. We had Sargent, now we have Colapinto. We had Ocon, now we have Doohan. And then we had, so was it 3? Was it 4? I'm looking at it right now.
It must be 3.
Sorry, it was just.
I was like, who else
either way, that's still a lot. That's still a lot.
That's a high turnover.
The drivers that will not be here next year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's happened before in F1 in history. But it's just a lot. It is a lot for next year.
It's a lot. I can't deal with it. I think
I didn't mean it like that.
The biggest, I think, change, I don't know if this has been done before, is how many rookie reserve drivers, F2 drivers, are coming up at once.
Yeah, I don't necessarily.
It's quite a few. We've got Doohan, we've got Bierman, we've got Antonelli,
and
Bortoleto.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, if we want to call, we don't know if Lawson's coming. We kind of know, but
well, let's talk about that in the next part of the news.
Yes. Go right ahead.
So I mean, it's always been not even speculated. Red Bull has always come out and said that on the Monday after, or in the week after, there's been somebody said Monday at some point that they're going to make a decision on the Monday about their driver lineup for 2025. It came out today. I don't know if it was just after the race or before the race, but Marco said that they are going to make a decision on the driver lineup for 2025, but they don't think it'll be announced tomorrow.
And this was before both
Monday,
teams.
Yeah.
This is for
both teams. So this is RB and Red Bull. So we did have things. Checo came out today and said that he still has a contract, but today's tone was a little bit different. I'm not saying that he's going to drive for them. He says he will be with the team, or they're trying to see what it's going to look like next year, kind of in that vein. We had interviews with Isaac Hadjar, who is Red Bull's F2 driver, who's finished second, I believe, in the championship this year. Where he was asked where he thinks he's going to go for next year, and he was avoiding it absolutely terribly, kind of falling. I don't know that, like, for all the money that Red Bull has, you think they would media train him beforehand. Like, listen, we know you're going to get asked this shit.
Yeah.
Just deny everything. Just don't say anything.
Or just
say,
don't
I have
tell
no
him
idea.
yet.
Just say, I have no idea. Yeah. He obviously has an idea because he was tripping over himself on what he could or couldn't say or how to say it. And it was, and even Bortoletto made a comment saying, "Oh, so so you probably don't have this race means nothing to you right now," which made it sound like he's in F1 next year, which is most likely going to be the Visa Cash App RB Racing Bulls bullshit name, whatever it is, next year.
Which they'll just be Racing Bulls next year.
Yeah, whatever.
So it'll be easier.
I'm going to make it longer next year.
Even longer.
Just from my own personal stupidity. Anyways, which would likely mean that Tsunoda or Lawson is in a Red Bull, which means Perez would likely be, well, not likely because it's not going to be Max. So what I took from this, and I told you this just before we started, is that I think that Sergio's definitely gone. They may put or offer him a seat at one of their other racing series somewhere, and still in Red Bull, because to guarantee him a contract, and so this way they're not paying him for nothing. Right. But what they want to do is take the time for themselves to inform his $30 million apparently worth of sponsorships that he brings to the table. Inform them or try and secure other sponsorship ahead of that, so that this way they look like a team that is together, unified, all this other shit, and try to avoid all that drama. Which Perez's father has also come out and said that he is going to list all the lying journalists, whatever that means,
tomorrow
on Monday.
Yeah,
he's just gonna come out with a list for them. Which to me, some people thought it would be like, "Hey, you all said he was going to be gone. He's not going to be gone." I took that as, "Fuck you all. You've made our lives hell, and I'm going to name you all by name because you are toxic media people, and my son's no longer in F1, and I can say whatever the hell I want now."
Yeah, I mean, I would love to know what this list is going to be and what he has to say. I mean,
he said some wild shit this year. He has said some wild shit.
Yeah, like he's on Jos Verstappen level weird shit. Like, but I mean, even Jos doesn't really threaten the media per se. He just threatens Christian Horner.
Jos has been angry and direct.
Yeah.
Checo's dad has been whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
he is a politician. He is a politician.
It hasn't been politician speak.
Well, yeah, this is true. This is true. So I mean, there's still drama to unfold over the
Fitting
next.
though that we start with Red Bull drama and we end with Red Bull drama.
Yes, and all that drama. And it never really stopped. We've had Red Bull drama the entire.
There were quiet moments, season. Or at least it was. It switched to on track stuff opposed to off track.
Fair. It did switch for a little
bit. We're not going to get.
We can't go back into it.
Maybe in our season review.
Yeah, we can get back into it. And then the only piece of news that I had is that Max is going to be a dad.
Yeah. Which the memes are hilarious.
Yes. And not in favor of poor Kelly Piquet.
Or Max.
But, I mean, congratulations to them. Congratulations to them. He also made a very funny comment after the race today, because he is now sitting on 8 penalty. I don't know if you saw this. He's sitting on 8 penalty points, and they last for 1 year. So they're going to carry over into next year, and he can't get 12 and whatever. He says
12, you get a suspension in one race.
He's going to purposely get to 12.
Save him,
when the baby's due, so he gets paternity leave.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like,
I mean,
he is
Max in Max fashion.
Yeah, he is. That's the way to go out, of this season.
It was very much Dutch humor.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
It was funny. It was.
The other people probably don't, but it's funny.
And I don't necessarily think it's that much of a joke.
I don't think so either.
I can see it happening.
Yeah, I did see a weird conspiracy that maybe Max is going to take a year off, He said no.
He's not going to.
He's not going to take a gap year. But yeah, maybe that keeps Perez in. Maybe.
Here's what I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think
even
so.
if Max takes a gap year.
That kind of brings us back to that. Like, so the thought is, the rumor is that Lawson would get Perez's seat.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Yuki Tsunoda, what's going through your head at this point? You've done everything. You've done everything they've asked. You have been a driver who can give you good feedback. You have worked your ass off. Okay, you've had issues with anger, whatever. You've done everything you can to try and please.
You went to anger management.
You've done everything you can to please your team, and you've done it to what they wanted to do. You have been a loyal, I don't want to say subject, a loyal employee, driver, teammate, all that throughout. Jeez, it's got to be, what, 6-7 years now?
I was going to say it's 2019, 2020?
Yeah, so it's coming up on 6-ish years. And now all of a sudden Liam comes in, which he hasn't proven this year that he is faster than Tsunoda. I'd say they're pretty on par for what they've done.
Yeah.
And he is, I mean, they've said it up and down. The RB seats are for their junior drivers, is to bring up their other drivers or help bring up their other drivers. Liam obviously still needs some improvements because we've seen how he's emotionally not there yet. Maybe. Probably not. Well, fuck it, I'll say. Yeah, he's not there yet, emotionally.
No, he's not.
And now you're going to see him being promoted into a seat. If I'm Yuki, I'm gone.
I'm going back to 2020 Yuki. I'm taking everybody out. I'm cussing everybody out.
I'm calling up Cadillac and be like, listen, let's make a deal right now. 2026, I'm your driver.
Yeah. And then they bring Daniel back in. Maybe that's the whole thing. Daniel comes back.
Maybe.
They're not bringing Perez back. Unless Perez is going over to RB.
I could see Perez coming in Cadillac, taking that year off and coming back to Cadillac and bringing that sponsorship to a team that just paid $450 million to get into F1. I could see that.
And anything's possible. Anything is possible. But yeah, I'd be pissed if I was Yuki and I'm passed over again for the spot.
And now your new teammate is who they've been talking about this whole time, Hajar, who they obviously really love, and just seems like Yuki gets forgotten.
Yeah. And he's had a relatively good season. Not a great season. He's had a good season. He's had some good showings.
He's had good moments. Yeah, absolutely.
When he was against Daniel, he was out doing Daniel. He was like, I mean, he's gotten into Q3s. He's placed his car in good spots. I mean, he's had some good battles on track. It's just, I don't know why they would choose Lawson, but it does sound like that's where they're leaning, unfortunately. So we'll see tomorrow or this week.
Or this week, yeah.
When it comes out.
We'll see when all the shit comes out.
Yeah. And that's it. That's it for the 2024 season.
Yeah, for all the people that complained about our last friggin' episode, we won't make it to 145.
No, we won't. Rude.
Jerks. You don't want to listen to us.
Right? Fab.
Yeah, 100% fab.
Fab.
We call him Dad. He's got to take a nap.
So
fresh set.
Our last fresh set and dirty air of 2020.
Yes.
4 season. So I have a list.
You have a list.
Yeah.
Do I have to match this list?
No.
Okay.
No. Okay. So mine are a little obvious. I'm going to say
Can I guess what one of them is? The Leclerc brothers.
Oh, no, I didn't do that one.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you?
I am offended now.
Yeah, right? No, I had the double podium for their final race together for Ferrari. Carlos and Charles.
Before your parents divorced, they come together for one final family dinner.
That was my family photo. That was it. And then my other one was a a good drive from Charles, showing that he can go from 18th to 3rd. It's not just the likes of a Schumacher, a Hamilton, and a Verstappen that can do that. The little guy from Monaco can also do that. And he did it so quickly. So I thought that was really good. And then this one's not really a fresh set, but this race, finally seeing the stewards have some sort of consistency in this race.
Yeah.
Hopefully it carries over, because it was as if they were like, you hit somebody, penalty. They're not even thinking about it anymore. You're here. No, you hit somebody, penalty. You false start, penalty. You do this, penalty. Like, they were just, and that's fine.
Pretty quick, especially like with the qualifyings, restating times, and making that it didn't take till the end of the session.
We're gonna look after. Like, it's, as long as you're going to be consistent. Are we going to agree every single time? No, but maybe that's what the rule book says. As long as we're going to follow the rule book, or we're not going to follow the rule book, just be consistent.
And that's what everybody's asking for. Like it or hate it, as long as it's the same every time.
Yeah. So I just thought they seem to figure it out today. Let's see if it carries into next year. So,
all right,
there's your turn.
My fresh set. So I'll give you two. A couple actually. I guess that's two.
Yeah.
So we had, and I sent you this. Magnussen spending that time with his daughter on the grid today. I thought that was just a nice, sweet moment.
Cute.
Somebody who really loves being in F1, getting to spend that moment with his daughter. He said she's not going to remember it, but I will forever.
Yeah.
Same thing with Hulk after the race. Got to spend that moment with his family. It was just really nice to see. And then
you do have a heart.
I do. It's very small. It's very small. It's there.
It's there.
I'll forget about this moment in 2 seconds. Once I press stop, it's all over and I'm back to being an asshole. But and Hamilton, just you know what, we were talking about him the last couple weeks about how it just didn't seem like himself. It was very disappointing to watch him react in certain ways. Today he put his head down. He had a mission.
Yeah.
He was out in Q1, not by his own faults or problems. Even today, he still had a complaint about the car, just didn't have the pace. Yeah. But he found it. He kept his head down. He put himself from, what did we say it was, 17th?
16th
to a very respectable fourth.
Yeah.
And just made it work and didn't give up until that last corner, last line. In his last race with Mercedes, I'm wearing my
Mercedes sweater
here. So just that was the highlight of the day. It was just how he drove and how he carried himself all day, and all weekend really.
Yeah, you saw like old Lewis today.
Yeah.
Like, he just did what he needed to do. He did have a funny radio and he was like, "How far ahead is first place," or whatever, and they were like 14 seconds. He was like, 14 seconds? What do you mean?
All right, so I'll just try to put myself
he's like, I'll just so third. We're going on third. Okay, cool. But
well, that's because they kept telling him, like, we think you can hit a podium. He's like, I don't think I'm gonna do my best, but there's no way I'm gonna get on that podium. Even Crofty was trying to make that math work. I'm like, it's not gonna work. You're not making that. Brundle's like, you've got 6 seconds of this guy, 7 seconds of this guy, 14 seconds of that guy. I'm like, podium's a stretch.
Yeah. They just wanted to say it. Yeah, and I mean, even I don't know if you noticed, or if you were still watching, right when everybody finished, Lewis did his donuts in his Mercedes. When he got out of the car, he went over to Charles, who was very sad that he didn't win, and he consoled him. And it was like, you should kind of be the one that's being consoled right now. And it was kind of just, it was a nice moment.
Yes and no. I mean, I saw that, and I did see the donuts, and I did see they put the Hamilton little placard there for him, which is, yes, I get it. It's the end of an era. It's Lewis leaving the most dominant team, one of the most dominant teams, but had the most dominant runs in all of F1. I understand that, but he's not going anywhere.
No.
Like, it's not like it's his last race here. No. It made it seemed like we're trying to memorialize him here. It's just
with him still there.
I get it, but he's going to be back next year.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was it was a nice gesture, a little much. I'm like,
Toto made it, and they were like, just put it there, just put it there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
how much money we give you guys?
Right. Okay, dirty air.
Dirty air.
I'm gonna go with Bottas not being able to get points at all this year. He didn't get 1 point, and this is maybe his last opportunity in Formula One.
Yeah. To
get points. Maybe he'll be a reserve driver. That's what's next, maybe. But just he was such a competitive partner for Lewis. Competitive really his whole career, and up until this year, kind of. So just kind of sad to see him not get any points. Yeah, that was my dirty air. Just one.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
You're like, I have a list.
No. I've ranted and raved about everything that's my dirty air already in the last couple of weeks. But my biggest one will be Alpine, which was last week as well. But I'm going to continue it this week. I mean, we said it before we started. We didn't record it. Abby Pulling, who had her title stripped from her last weekend because they decided they had one race canceled last week, and they decided to add it on to this weekend. So technically she couldn't win, or there was a possibility she could lose the championship, but it would mean that her closest competitor had to qualify in first twice, had to win all 3 races. To make up all these points. So it was all but a done deal. Anyways, she qualified in first twice. She won it before the races, I believe. Yeah. So congrats to her again for being a 2-time champion in 1 year.
In 1 year.
But getting rid of Ocon.
Yeah.
It was absolutely useless. He is, and we harp on Ocon all the time. Okay,
all the time.
He is an easy target, especially for me. But you did him dirty.
Yeah,
it was absolutely unnecessary. He helped you get yourself into sixth place. Just by the skin of your teeth, when you put out a completely shit car at the beginning of the year. Like, it was literally compared to a tractor.
Yeah, it really was.
And he helped gain you $13 million or 15 or whatever it's going to be. Getting rid of him in the last race of the season with a rookie driver who, when you want points, maybe a rookie driver who's going to qualify in 20th and finish in 20th or just above the DNFs.
17th. Yeah, whatever it is.
16th or whatever it was. There's 4 DNFs. So 16th. Is that your play? Like, what? I don't understand it. I don't understand
Ocon could have at least helped Gasly up front.
It was so absolutely disrespectful bullshit. It seemed very childish. Yeah. And it was unnecessary. So,
and what we also learned is that, the statement from Alpine was kind of like, it was, so he could start doing testing for Haas and all that. So they were like, it was doing a nice thing. Well, then we see Ocon's post, and Ocon had designed a helmet for this weekend. He had designed all kinds of stuff and wanted to do all these different kinds of things.
He didn't even get to say goodbye to the team, the mechanics, the factory.
Because he now he's no longer an employee of Alpine. He can't go back to the factory. So it's like, come on.
Brad Pitt got to say goodbye to the Alpine team.
Which was a slap in the face, by the way.
Which was, yeah.
That was bad.
Actually, and I meant to say this, I didn't write it down. My other fresh set was going to be the camaraderie between the mechanics of Ferrari and McLaren. Everybody after the race, all hugging, giving each other high fives. They worked hard. They did it. I'm pretty sure most of them were just happy that it wasn't Red Bull that won, and it was a fight between them two, and it was just a good, clean, honest fight. We did it. There was no drama between anybody.
Yeah.
But it was just
was nice
what
to
that
see.
what the sport's supposed to be about, right?
Yeah.
It's competitive. Yes, you're not friends during the season, but we can all come together and kind of
they all went and hugged each other. It was
respect each other. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to see that.
Anyways, yeah, so that was both.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
And that's it. So this was the last
season.
Yeah, the 2024 season has come
Which
to
has
an
been
end.
great.
It has.
We'll get into it. We'll do a review. It has been a fantastic season, start to finish.
It really has. And races are done. We have a couple more episodes that we're going to put out for you guys. And then we're going to take a break.
Yeah. We'll take a couple weeks off over the holidays.
Yeah, we're owed a break. We'll still have content. But yeah, we'll get into that in the next couple episodes. We'll talk about it. But in the meantime, you can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, YouTube at Fresh Set Podcast. And then you can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, X, which is formerly Twitter, at Fresh Set Podcast on all platforms as well. And then
like, comment, subscribe, share, text us and tell us how much you hate the length of it, or how wrong we are, or how much you love us.
Yeah.
Which we don't get a lot of those.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
We don't.
I'm starting having a Lando mental health moment here.
Yeah, honestly. People don't tell us that they love us.
No. Actually, I don't care.
It's your family, actually, and friends that tell us that they hate us.
It is. I surround myself with a bunch of assholes.
Yeah. I'm not agreeing with their assholes, but anyways, we will see you guys.
I love them with their assholes.
We will see you guys next week.
Yep. Grab a fresh set.
Bye.